Okay, so I'm back live again. I just did a little bit of a food review or a review on some keto-friendly colas that I found at Aldi. I'm going to wait a minute for some people to show up, and then we're going to get into talking about some other stuff. What I'm going to do later is I'm actually going to try the zero net carb bread. I'm going to fast all day so my blood sugar drops as low as I can possibly get it. And then fasting since last night, I'm going to fast. And then I'm going to eat the zero net carb bread and show you in relation to the zero net carb bread how my blood sugar responds to it versus an homemade, like just a regular homemade beer bread or something like that. I have a theory. I don't know if my theory is going to end up correct or not, but what I can honestly say is we're going to find out. And today I'm going to give you my thoughts exactly on why a lot of the channels and stuff that do reviews on things do them incorrectly. So that should be the ending topic of today's video. Just trying to hurry up and edit and save my video I just did. I'm doing it from my phone from the YouTube Creator Studio. So it is saved and it's up, it's active. So the issue that I have, let me see if I can invite people, copy to clipboard, copied. Jump out of here for a second, go here. See how this is. I don't know if it shares correctly or not. Okay, so I've shared it to my private Facebook group in here as well. So let's talk about some stuff. How I'm going to test later, like I said, is I'm going to do my blood sugar before. I'm going to show you what it's like. I'll test at noon and see what it goes down to. If it's down pretty low at noon, I'll go ahead and do the review at noon. If not, I'm going to do it later tonight and try to get it as low as I possibly can. The other part of what I want to talk about today is these. What I don't understand is we have vegans that they were vegan for a long time. And we all talked trash about them. We trashed them. We told them they were doing things wrong. They were all mixed up with their diet and their history of everything and how they presented their case on why everybody should be on a vegan diet. And we followed all these different influencers and stuff like that. And we just dogged them and dogged them and dogged them. And then all of a sudden, a vegan wants to go from a vegan diet to a carnivore diet. And then within weeks, they become the utmost professional. Where in the hell did you guys get that at? Why did all of a sudden that become so interesting to people to go from trashing somebody that was on a vegan diet to they go to a carnivore diet, and now all of a sudden they become this utmost professional that people want to listen to and follow all over the world. Some of the carnivores as well. We just had that vegan girl not too long ago. She went from a vegan diet to a carnivorous diet, says she feels substantially better. And now people are asking her to come on talk shows and be on podcasts and all this other stuff. Where in the hell did we get this all mixed up at? Because it's a pretty face with a slim waist, and all of a sudden we think that they're supposed to be promoted as the face of carnivory or keto. What I don't get is I don't get how people could why we have people that have been out for years and years and years and years and years teaching this stuff, and they get the very minimum amount of respect or audience or subscriber base, but yet some pretty girl that was vegan for a long time that made the most ridiculous choices dietary wise to most of us that we've dogged at some time can all of a sudden pop up and be brought on podcasts and shows and everything else. Now people's asking, can you teach me? I want to subscribe to you. I want to do this. I want to pay you for all this information. They don't know nothing. I mean, brand new within weeks. And all of a sudden people are asking, can I pay you to help me and all this other stuff? Where do we get this mixed up at? How are society so into this sheeple-like mentality that they want to follow blindly is what I don't understand. You have somebody that doesn't know anything about carnivory, nothing at all. They don't know how to help people. They don't know how to teach people. They've never done anything with it. But then within weeks and months, they become this superstar in the carnivorous world, being brought on podcasts and everything else and asking questions and how can I fix this deficiency and that deficiency? These people don't know anything. They're literally starting from square one. It's like the lube tech that comes into the mechanic shop that just starts changing oil for the first time. He's literally starting at square one. He has to learn and work his way up. But yet we let vegans that have been previous vegans for years and years and years destroy their health, be the epitome of the vegan community by switching to a carnivorous diet. And we put so much effort and emphasis in what they have to say just by simply switching diets. And now all of a sudden, just by switching diets, you've just become a professional. And now you're brought on podcasts and you're telling people what to do and how to live their life, on how to be healthy and stuff like that. I don't understand this. I don't understand how people in the keto and carnivore community can let this happen. I don't know how people like Dr. Paul Saladino and Dr. Sean Baker and Frank Tefano aren't speaking up about this type of stuff. Why do we have vegans that were putting out such trash, terrible information for so long, then all of a sudden they come to the forefront and want to be a carnivore, and we're not speaking about how all of a sudden just within weeks, if not months, they're being brought up as this professional, this utmost knowledgeable person, but nobody wants to speak about that? We have this all fucked up in this community. I'm sorry, it is what it is. Why do people play into that? Why do people continually do that and then they don't want to speak about it? Is it because they have a nice look? Is it because they have a big vegan following and they want to attract more people to the carnivorous community? So we have to play this person out to be this professional, this utmost knowing authority on their carnivore at the carnivore forefront. I don't get this. I watched this happen where they bring this girl on these talk shows and stuff like that. I forget her name now, but it's something that I wanted to talk about for a long time. If you just search vegan female to carnivore, you'll figure out who I'm talking about. She'll pop up. I don't understand how so many people can put so much effort into one person that has been lagging and slacking in their dietary choices for so long. And then all of a sudden they just pop up and they're being brought up on podcasts and everything else. Let's ask this person questions. Let's ask this person for advice. Let's ask this vegan girl that went carnivore for her attention on how to fix my dietary choices or my deficiency. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. She's just starting it herself. We don't say anything about that stuff. I mean, Tim Sheaf, what did he went from a vegan, drinking his own piss and everything else, swapping piss with other vegans and stuff like that, to being a carnivore. And within months, people were like, oh, this guy's a professional. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He can fix all my problems and answer all my questions. That dude does not know what he's talking about. He hasn't done nothing for a length of time to even be considered a kind of base of information for any kind of nutritional advice. Or this other girl that popped up, the one that was on that Drew Morg went and sat down with and talked to. She's just another girl trying to figure out her dietary choices. And now all of a sudden we want to consider this as one of the carnivore authorities. I mean, look how many people have been doing this years and years and years and years and years longer than these people, but they're thought of as nothing because they weren't part of that dramatic vegan type movement to carnivore. And now all of a sudden they know. You don't have to be a vegan and be in that extreme type lifestyle, or what some would consider it an extreme type lifestyle, and then switch to carnivory and be considered some kind of utmost authority in carnivory. That's nothing. You can speak from your experience and that's it. So that's one of the biggest things that annoy me the most right now, is you can have some new person that pops up that has a nice face all of a sudden they're considered to be this type of professional that everybody wants to go flock to and get information from when they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. It's like one of the biggest annoying things to me. But yet people continually put up with it and continue to follow it and continue to do it. And nobody speaks out about it. Where's Sean Baker at saying, hey, you know what, guys, back up a little bit here. Let's get most of our information from people that have been doing this for a long time, that have helped lots of people, not somebody brand new that's still learning how to do this. Where's Frank at talking about this stuff? Where's Drew at, or anybody else talking about this stuff? And you kind of relax and back up just a little bit here. You can get some information from them on their experience, but it's not to be, I wouldn't follow somebody and pay somebody money that really doesn't have that much time doing it. So that's the biggest thing on all this right now, is the fact that people follow blindly. You know, we have the twin Carnivore sisters or whatever, they're doing really well on this. They have a lot of information, but they didn't start putting out that information until they really started getting used to the diet and how things were being fixed, and doing the research and following people for a long time. Those girls are phenomenal. They're very, very smart. Those are the type of people that I would be looking to for information. Somebody that's been doing it for years and years. I've been doing this for years and years and years. You know, I don't follow exactly like I'm supposed to the extent that people would like, but I live my life the way I want to. It's the information base that people have in their library. They can help people. And if you don't have time on the playing field, you don't need to be on the playing field. Share your experience with people. I get it. But there's a lot of carnivores that say, oh, so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that. And I go check them out. And it's like, bro, they've been doing this stuff for 6 months. They were vegan for 7 years before this. They've been carnivore for 6 months. Now, all of a sudden, you're saying so-and-so said this. Why are you even considering what so-and-so is saying? They don't have enough time on the playing field. If you don't know how to play the game, you don't get in with the big boy leagues. It doesn't happen that way. That's what a lot of these people are doing. They run to these previous vegans that have went carnivore, and they start spewing all this BS about them knowing what they're talking about. And it's just a pretty face on a screen, and that's as far as it goes. You still don't even know what one of the main fixes for a fatty liver is. It's choline. You have choline deficiency, so you don't even know how to pick that back up and help somebody in that regard, to start recommending more red meat type stuff, eggs, things like that. Where is the accountability? I don't see it. I don't see it in this community. I see in this community now more than ever any young six-string or six-shooter or whatever cowboy coming down the road can be considered a top cowboy now. And that's what I don't get. Anybody can come along and say, oh yeah, here I am. I know everything about carnivore. Just follow me and I'll tell you everything. I know everything about keto. I'll just tell you everything. And it's like people buy into that crap. Just was it last year before last? There was a Canadian Facebook group. The girls got like 17,000 people, and there was not enough people in Canada teaching keto. So there was like people in her group flocking to her group. And she's some kind of baker that bakes all these treats and all these bars and cakes and everything else and ships them to people and makes loads of cash off them. And she's still giving them dietary advice. Previous vegan, they went keto carnivore, and now all of a sudden people flock to them. They look to them and they don't know that they're the same people. They're just making money off of them. It's a marketing thing, especially when they have agendas like bakeries and they're selling people in their own groups products from their own. I mean, they have an agenda. They're not going to be honest with you and teach you about the different types of insulin responses and blood sugar responses to things. They're not going to tell you how to individually and collectively test your blood sugar based on individual ingredients and then total ingredients in products. They're not going to do that stuff. They have an agenda. And a lot of people, they look past all that. So you might see a pretty face where there used to be a vegan girl that was destroying her life. You notice a lot of vegan women, they're very pretty, they look good, but they have that like skinny fat look to them at the same time. Then all of a sudden they go carnivore, and just within months people are like, oh my god, you know everything about carnivore. The hell she doesn't. All you need to do is just eat damn animal meat and you'll heal. They don't know everything about carnivore. They don't know what types of foods and more of this or that they need to eat to fix deficiencies, because they obviously weren't worried about it before they became a carnivore. So within months, You mean to tell me that they're already thought of as some kind of figure? I know this may come across as me being a little salty or jealous or whatever it is, but this is just the facts. It is what it is. It's something that I've been holding on to for a long time. You see somebody on social media go from one extreme diet to another, and they've just got, a matter of weeks or months in, and all of a sudden they know what they're talking about. It's ridiculous. And I don't mean to bash people in the process, but we need to step back a second here and say, you know what, this just doesn't seem right. Why are you bringing some previous vegan on your podcast or your show or something like that, and you're trying to treat them as maybe more of us should do that type of stuff. Maybe more of us should claim that we're on a vegan diet for months on end, and then all of a sudden come back after being gone for a while and lie to everybody and say, oh, yeah, I'm a carnivore now. Think of me as, the most maybe I'll start going on podcasts and people's shows and everything else. It's all a bunch of bullshit. This community went from being very, very clean, very strict, and giving really, really good information to people, and having some of the best pieces of information, or sounding boards, I should say, out there that could give people information, to a complete giant shit show. More products, more this, more that, more supplements, more, and it's just turned into a complete giant circus of clowns just running around acting like they know everything, and they don't know shit. And that's my biggest concern right now. And it started with the keto community. Actually, it started with the paleo community. And then more and more people wanted to pop up, and then you went keto, and then it went mainstream, and more people starting to do all that. And the carnivore, who really moved this movement along the most in the carnivorous community and the ketogenic community in general, but Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was the complete sounding board to all this. None of this would have been possible, or none of this would have moved around no more than, the keto community did at the beginning, if it wasn't for Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan brought Dr. Sean Baker on, talked to him. I was running a group that the admin kind of disappeared, and I was the only admin there. And I was running a group, and I think we had like 1,700 people. And Joe Rogan did his interview with Dr. Sean Baker. And Dr. Sean Baker just basically laid all the facts out right in front of Joe Rogan. So at the end of the day, people don't like Sean Baker and stuff like that for whatever reason it may be. Sean Baker giving the information to Joe Rogan was the reason why this community grew as large as it did. And how much credit does Sean Baker get for what he does? I mean, he gets credit, but it's not like it should be. And even though people don't like the recommendations that Sean Baker says, because Paul says, oh, he doesn't focus on this type of information, and Frank says he doesn't focus on this type of information, Sean Baker is the reason why the carnivore community moved along like it did. But it's the sounding board. It's Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had millions of followers. And it wasn't until after that interview, all of a sudden, it was like 1,000 people a day in the group were recommending to be, members of the group. And then within a week, it went up from, let's just say 2,000 people. It went from 2,000 to 10,000. And then within like 3 weeks, it was up to 20,000. And then within just a couple months, it was already at 40,000. And I was like, oh my God, man. And this was all just because of Sean Baker going on the Joe Rogan podcast and them talking about reality. These are people that I would be listening to that have the experience living the lifestyle and doing it. And Joe doesn't even give advice on that. Joe just talks about it. Sean gives the advice because he knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for so long. And it's just a matter of picking and choosing your poison. But there's just so many people that find these new faces, especially the vegan community, that come to the keto or carnivore community, and they put so much effort into listening to what they have to say, when a lot of the information that they put out is basically, it's not very good information to begin with. They don't have the time, they don't have the experience doing it, and if they were not already on the diet, they literally don't know how it feels until they've done it for extended amounts of time in order to give other people that type of advice. There's so many things that you can go through when you start a carnivorous diet. Your digestion phase changed, the amount of time that you can be having like diarrhea, how to get through that, the different types of feeling that indicate potassium deficiency or sodium deficiency, things like this that are often not talked about in the carnivore community. that people have extreme problems with, that I've had thousands and thousands of people on my videos message me and say, thanks for this. I mean, nobody else is talking about this. But yet you have some good looking vegan chick that goes carnivore, and then all of a sudden she knows what she's talking about. When these topics don't pop up out of her mouth, deficiencies don't pop up out of her mouth, the different types of balanced amounts of food on a carnivorous diet that could help somebody in a deficient state, these things don't pop up. And what I don't like is the fact that people are not speaking out about this. We don't have the bigger sounding boards speaking out and saying, hey, chill with this stuff, guys, because you could potentially get some bad information. And it's for social media, it's for views, is what it is. It comes down to a pretty face and a slim waist. You know, that's kind of what it comes down to. And it's pretty sad that in the community in general, the carnivore, the keto community in general, it just looks like a big damn circus. That's what it looks like now. It's a clown show. Everybody attacking each other. People that were never carnivore before coming to the forefront, and now all of a sudden people treating them as they're some kind of nutritional professional. At the end of the day, you should be doing your own homework, your own research, and following your own path based on what you want and not what anybody else says. You just listen to what they have to say, and that's as far as it goes. But even to the extent of, you know, doctors like Dr. Paul Saladino, Dr. Barry, these doctors are newer doctors. They have not been doing this that long. They've only been doing it for a couple of years. Before that, Barry was into keto and stuff all the time, promoting that, and he wasn't even doing that stuff that long. And then it was because of Sean Baker that he even decided to do the 30-day carnivore challenge. Well, once he learned more about that and started looking more into, you know, the rhetoric and the information, the education being put out by those guys, well, you can only listen to something so long before it starts becoming memory. It starts becoming muscle memory. I mean, it's the same, doing it over and over again. You're going to get it. So then it's easier to teach that to other people. They didn't do this. They didn't go to school for this stuff. They didn't research anything. Paul knows about, you know, deficiencies and stuff like that. That's why he can talk to you about getting it through food. But they're newer doctors. There's no professional category when it comes to teaching ketogenics and carnivorous eating. You can't go to school and get a fucking degree that says, hey, I want to be a carnivore PhD doctor right now. It doesn't work that way. You learn that based on experience. You learn that based on helping people. And that's what I don't get, is why people put so much effort into treating people as they're some kind of professional that has been doing this for years and years and years, and they have not. They've just figured out there's something that works. Here it is. Follow my journey if you want. My PhD, my MD, or whatever doesn't mean a damn thing in the grand scheme of things, because I can't give you medical advice to begin with. I cannot give you nutritional advice to begin with, because I'm not a nutritionist. All I can do is give you my opinion on stuff and help share things with you, and then you make your own decision based off that. So when you really break things down at the end of the day, we're all just people trying to help each other. But where some people have more experience and knowledge in certain areas than others do. So one of my biggest concerns is new people that were never on this diet before, that were never eating this lifestyle before, all of a sudden come to the front, and then we say that person knows what they're talking about, and they've only been doing it for a matter of weeks or months. Makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. And how we have these doctors that come into this community and they have never lived this lifestyle. They've never done a ketogenic diet, and all of a sudden they want to switch up and they want to become Paul. When Paul came into this carnivore stuff, he was literally brand new. He had never done it. He came into it. He started talking about it. He started trying to live the lifestyle. He started spreading information. I get it. I get that he's a doctor, but at the time he was not a doctor. He was still going through school for everything. He was what do you call it, a med student or something like that. He was still in his phase where you got to donate some of your time to the hospitals and stuff like that before you can even be considered a doctor. The same thing with Barry. Barry had never done any of this stuff. He'd never done a ketogenic diet or a carnivorous diet before he came in. He came in and he started learning as he went. And then as he learned, he got more and more confident in teaching it. That's just how it was. But a lot of people get confused and they get mixed up in this limelight. And they're like, oh, no, I'm going to go to this professional keto doctor and his name is Dr. Barry. That's not a professional keto doctor. That's a doctor that knows about keto that can help you, but he's not a professional keto doctor. If I considered somebody that was a professional keto doctor, I would look at Dr. Eric Westman, Dr. Ron Rosedale, Dr. Stephen Feeney, or Jeff Volek, or Dr. Eric, or Annette Bosworth, somebody that's been doing this for years and years and years and years and years and have some serious training behind them, doing clinical trials, looking up labs, looking at different types of research studies and stuff like that. Barry and Paul, they don't do this stuff. They're a social media face that gets on here and people are like, oh yeah, that guy knows what he's talking about. Yeah, he knows how to read other people's information and other people's work and put it out and make you believe that they know what they're talking about. They're not doing their own clinical trials and research. They're not doing any of that stuff. They're following information that's already been put out by the doctors that I've mentioned previously and before, and that doesn't constitute a professional. I could sit here all day and read different types of research studies and then get on here and remember them and recite them to you, and then you can sit here and call me a professional because I'm remembering these research studies. Or I can go look up, the effects of metformin and teach you in a 7-minute video. In this short video, I'm going to teach you all about metformin, and then you're going to believe everything that I say because I've researched that stuff. Come on. It's complete and utter ridiculousness on the amount of effort that we put into specific people that are newer to this type of stuff, when you should be putting your effort into more of the seriousness behind it. Have you not looked into, who was it, Vince Gironda or something back in the day, the bodybuilder that originally started the carnivore red meat egg diet? Of course, they were probably on some type of steroids as well, but these are people that have been doing it for years and years and years, where this information was put out long before any of these doctors were even thought of. So there's a big mix up here on where we put our effort and the emphasis on where we get our information to share with other people. I would seriously start to question where some people, and all this stuff where people talk about eating rotten meat, how it's healthy and it can replenish your digestive bacteria and all this other stuff, when really in the beginning, back before all this even started, we were saying you didn't have to do any of that stuff, that it was just normal to eat meat, drink water, salt, just live a normal carnivorous lifestyle, you'll be fine. And people were completely fine. And all of a sudden, all these yahoos start popping up promoting rotten meat and doing all this type of ferment this that long and age this and age that, when these types of foods are high in histamine anyway, which in turn end up giving people skin condition and end up ruining them come allergy season and stuff like that. But people don't talk about that stuff because they are so tied up into these people that they consider professionals. They don't question the stuff that they put out. There are so many like older folks and stuff in general, or people that are just not educated or very, very gullible, that latch onto different bits and pieces of information put out by people, and they don't ever think to research it. They don't ever think to see, are these people actually telling me the truth? Can I go back and find these studies? Can I look at the clinical studies that they're talking about? Can I look? People don't do that. 900,000 followers, and there's less than 1% of them that will even go back to backtrack and see, is the information this person's putting out correct? Nobody does that. Nobody holds people accountable. And that's the biggest concern that I have right now, is so many new faces popping up and so many people coming to the front to help other people and taking their money for services and stuff like that, being brought on podcasts and everything else, when they don't even have an extensive amount of time doing this. People calling themselves doctors long before they were actually doctors, when they were still in the school phase before getting a degree. This is a big, big concern for me, because people put so much effort into following blindly and not asking questions. And the vegan BS about these vegans that, they can be vegan for long periods of time and understand the vegan lifestyle, but never teach how to fix proper deficiencies on a vegan diet, because you really can't fix these types of deficiencies on a vegan diet in a bioavailable form without supplementing. And then all of a sudden they switch to a carnivorous diet, and now they're thought to be some kind of sounding board, some kind of professional when it comes to giving nutritional advice. It really shocks me, the amount of people that do this, and we allow it to happen and nobody speaks about it. If anything, Joe Rogan which he's not a professional. He even says that. He doesn't even give people nutritional advice at all. He just asks questions and talks about things, just kind of like I do. He is the biggest reason why this movement moved along as much as it has. Because without him and the Dr. Sean Baker podcast, this wouldn't have blown up nowhere near as big as it did. It was moving along slowly, but when he did that podcast, all this blew up. It was like, the Big Bang all over again. And now here we are today with thousands and thousands of people getting called on TV shows and news networks and stuff to talk about stuff. There's a group for every different type of keto and carnivore out there now, and it's people keep splitting off and making it, a different variation of carnivore, a different variation of keto, a different variation of paleo. And, the people with degrees that specialized in certain categories and stuff before of their life and their profession have now split off, and they're trying to convince people that, oh yeah, I have this degree in nutritional science because, this, and this, and now you should follow what I have to say because of this. And because of my degree, that means that I'm a professional. That does not mean you're a professional. That means you went to school and you've remembered enough to pass a test to get a degree. Now, what you do outside of that is what makes you a professional. That degree does not make you a professional. It just means that you are degreed in a profession that you can perform in. But the professional aspect is what follows afterwards and what you do with it. And a lot of people look to say, oh, he's got credentials. That means he's a professional. No, it doesn't. That's not what makes somebody a professional. I can make it through Ford School, International School, Cummings School, everything else, commercial HVAC school, and have all the degrees and the certifications in the world. But until I can get out and actually perform those tasks and make them happen accordingly and show people that I'm a professional, that's when I become a professional. But if you don't have time on the field after you get those certifications to show I've learned the basics of what I need to know to practice this type of professionalism, now I'm going to hone those skills by going out and actually doing it. That makes me a professional. Not the fact that I have a piece of paper in front of me with some credentials that say this is how much I know. That doesn't make anybody. If you think that makes you a professional, then you need to go back and reevaluate stuff. That's only a piece of paper saying that you went and learned the basics to start your path on becoming a professional. That's why they send you to meds, like all these clinical classes and stuff like that. And then you got to go actually work in a hospital for so long so you can get used to the environment before they release you and then say, okay, now you can start practicing. That's why they're called practicing physicians. They have credentials, but that doesn't mean that they are a professional until they prove that. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, a nice face and a smile and, words that people could be attracted to on social media are what simply give people those credentials as a professional now. And that's what social media has bought into, is if you can spread the word, if you can convince me, if you can tell me a bunch of stuff that I want to hear, and then it works, and that means you're a professional. But anybody can put that information out and show that it works. It doesn't mean that one specific. Most of these doctors that people follow on social media, on the keto stuff, the carnivore stuff, the information has already been out there for years and years and years. It's already been put out in front of people. It's just nobody found the means to sound it off properly for people to actually adhere to it and push it enough. And that's where a lot of these new doctors now are coming from today. There's financial gain, there's monetization, there's social media star attraction. You can become a celebrity just on YouTube now. You don't even have to be in movies or anything anymore. You don't have to. You can be nobody and become a celebrity. So that's kind of where anybody on social media that you can pinpoint have that. I can talk the talk, but you don't know if they walk the walk. They can flash some pieces of paper in front of the screen and make you believe that they have all the credentials in the world. But really, when it comes down to it, there's so much dark history and stuff in their past and things that they're still doing outside of this. And people flock to those types of people because they have that silver spoon type mentality. They're really good with their words and they make people believe that. So I would wake up big time. I would wake up and I would start questioning a lot of stuff that's going on in social media land. But so many people latch onto their favorite doctors and superstars and stuff like that. They could never think that they would do something bad. Anyway, this went from a vegan talk to kind of everything that's been concerning me lately. It's continually concerned me, and I know it's not going to change. It's going to continue to get worse, and there's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is sound off on my channel and the people that follow me and hope that they possibly get what I'm saying. We may not agree on everything, but I think there's a lot of points that my followers do agree on with me. I'm not a medical professional. I talk about what happens in my life, and I let you guys know that you do what you want based on whatever you feel. But I'm here to share my journey. This channel is about my journey, the things that I learned along the way, the things that I want to talk about. This channel is basically solely about me and what I see things and how I see it in life. And then I want to share that with you guys so I could be a part of yours as well. But at the end of the day, it's what I want to say without people censoring me. And there's been a lot of videos that I've put up that have been taken down because of censorship. Anyway, I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you're staying indoors and doing everything that the big guys are making us do, so you don't get in trouble, you don't get sick and all this other stuff. That's for another topic. I hope everything is going well for you and you haven't been affected by this virus. And just take care, guys. Be blessed. And that's my thoughts on this whole vegans to carnivore professionals, and then a lot of the people flocking to the big names, not knowing that they're not really putting out anything that hasn't been put out already. And if they want to be considered professionals, they need to show that they're professionals, not talk about it in front of a screen. Especially when you stop practicing. That's one of the big key things for me is if you're a doctor that was practicing and you were actually living the lifestyle, and then all of a sudden you stop practicing because you want to be fandom, social media fandom, fanboys or whatever it is, that's a big red flag for me. That doesn't constitute a professional. I would still want that human interaction. I would still want some kind of interaction with people in general, just so I keep that connection rather than just being on social media all the time. You can do both. It's very doable. And if you say you can't, you're a liar. You can do both. Anyway, be blessed, guys. Take care. I'm getting off here.